Hello everybody, video here for you today, and this is the Curse of Oak Island Week 1 looks back and ahead, and that's just where we look back at the previous episode or things from previous seasons, and then look ahead based on the preview or the synopsis from the History Channel about the next episode. And so there was a companion show this week that aired before the 2-hour season premiere, so we got some things to go through. So let's get started. Lot 5. They found a small round structure that the previous owner of the lot had placed rocks around. So like to differentiate it and stuff and maybe protect it a little bit. So he knew something was going up there, and that has increasingly turned into a larger structure, and they're still not done. It could go further out, and also they don't think they're at the bottom layer yet. And so they're still working on that. Laird is right there. They done test pits all around it through the Instagram. I forget the chef's name. I apologize about that. But on his Instagram this summer, he was a special guest, and he was on lot 5, and they discovered something near the beach. So that's either to the right over here or to the left. If Zig is on here, he can usually set me straight about direction, but I have no idea. But they did not show that either in the drilling down nor in the 2-hour season premiere. So that is still to come. But what they found was something like right at the tree line, like right when the tree and the grass and such stop and the beach part begins. And so but it is in a line with the 2 other structures. This is one of them, and then there's a smaller structure as well. So Fiona explained basically how that this is the oldest area and this is newer, and as you can see, smaller rocks and packed together much tighter, and this came later. And then also part of that expansion is this semicircle right here. And right in here, this is the sun shining through there. There's a hole there, they think for an airflow. There's a better one of that. Yeah, there you go. Again, you see the sun shining through it. But it is a hole for airflow, they think. Alrighty, so the next spot they go to is Cone E. And this was the one that they lifted last year. And they found a conglomerate. They're calling it a concretion this year. Same thing, they're just calling it something different than they called it last year. Now it's a concretion. That's basically when things like go together, like in the ocean, if you have if one metal object laying on another metal object, eventually with the water and the salt and stuff, they become one thing. And so they lifted up Boulder Cone E. They tell him that there'll be news on that. And I think they were very vague about it. I don't think they said anything else. And they also did not have, either in the premiere episode nor in the drilling down, did they have any DNA results or carbon dating on the hair that was found sticking out. Actually, multiple hairs embedded in that concretion. So we still have yet to see that. Next, they went to the swamp. And again, all of this is in the Drilling Down companion show. And all of this stuff was filmed approximately about halfway into the season's filming. So this stuff, if they air the items, if they edit it down so that it's exactly in order, you might see this the end of January, beginning of February. But you can forget that because they never air things exactly in order. They cut it together the way they think makes the best show. Jack and Alex told Maddie that he's the host, by the way, and they told him that they had something very interesting for him to see. And guess what? Maddie gets to see it, but we don't. There's Tom and Gary and the new person, which is Katja. Now it's Katya. So you might think Katia or Katya, but Gary pronounced it Katya. He throws a CH sound in it. So that's how I'll pronounce it, I guess. And he referred to her as his own Bobby Dazzler. And so he did a good job. And she's apparently a metal detection expert as well. And so she'll be helping out, especially, which is great because they are doing multiple projects. And even more so this year, it looks like they're doing multiple projects all at the same time. Like, for example, they have 2 different operations going on in the money pit at the same time. But this is what they brought him to see. And like I said, we don't get to see what it is. But apparently it's some kind of structure that Gary thinks is a vault. And maybe William Phipps. And he and Katya have pulled out a bunch of artifacts that are very interesting. Of course, we don't get to see any of those either unless there's one in the lab that we get to see, which there is something there that's not explained where that came from. But anyway, it's right there. And so Maddie was standing in the previous shot. He's standing up here where Alex and Jack are, and then he takes a step down into the hole to take a look at it. And so I'm guessing it's just it's under this soil level here, and it's down in there. And so we'll have to wait on that again. I would say mid-season or so would be about the time. Maybe it'll be earlier. Again, it just depends on how they cut it together. Phipps, the Concepcion discoverer, he took a bunch of the treasure back to England. He was knighted, and they said, all right, hey man, go back and get some more of that stuff. He went back to get more of that stuff, but there wasn't as much when he got back to England this time. And apparently this is the first time that this story has been told countless of times on the Curse of Oak Island and companion shows and stuff, but I think it was in this exact companion show that I think it's Maddie doing the narration, and he says that William Phipps told the king or queen at the time, I can't remember, that it had been picked over by the locals, the shipwreck. And so that's why there wasn't as much treasure this time. But a lot of people think he put a good little chunk of it, hid it at Oak Island. So very interesting. Very, very interesting teaser. Money pit area, caissons. That means it's time to slam can. And so, again, I don't think have started. They haven't done one yet. And it's halfway through the filming schedule. And so what they do, like in the first episode, is they are trying to get more information. They are digging up shaft 2. They're actually excavating it, not just drilling into it, what they thought was shaft 2, which might not be now. They discovered that in season 7 based on drilling. They're doing that, and also a borehole program to try to get more information to figure out where they want to put these caissons. Started in episode 1 of season 12. All right, and that's Maddie and Jack and Alex going over to see the guys under the tent at the observation area. This is the caisson area. They're getting ready, that's marked in orange here. They're getting ready to put that down. And you can even see that right there, if that's the same one. So that is exactly where they are putting that. And that is 7 feet away from the C1. And that is where Charles Barkhouse chose for his location. A bunch of the different guys that are on the show have gotten to choose a location where they think the money pit would be or treasure would be and so forth. And this one they say is 7 feet away from C1. And so I think that's what that cone right there denotes, is C1, I believe. Surveyor Steve Guptill says they did a lot of research on C1 this year. So again, we're still in the drilling down, and they go to the lab. And again, basically this is all sneak peek stuff. And this is a cut coin. And Laird Niven says the archaeologists never see a cut coin with this much precision. So he thinks it's government or some kind of official payment or something like that involved. And they would do that if they only owed you, say it was worth $1. If they only owed you 25 cents, they would cut that off and give that to you out of the entire coin. Emma says that this coin, which I don't recall, I don't think they said where this is from, but this one is much older. That one is still, I can't remember I can't remember the date of it, but it was still before the discovery of the money pit in 1795. More recent, but not ancient. But this one, I believe, is much older. She said based on it's not exactly round, and also the composition of it. But we don't hear anything else about that. So much later. And there's no neck, so that means we're done with the drilling down. So let's do. Now we're on to the season premiere, and instead of a war room meeting, they have one in the interpretive center because they have everybody there that's involved in the show, that's on the show on a regular basis. But the interesting thing about this shot is, okay, so they had the baby blob, which is right here in red. And then so now they've expanded the area, and you see this goes all the way down to right there is C1. And so I don't know if they moved it all the way down there just so that it can include C1 or not. But I think this is based on the water testing as far as where the highest gold content is. And it must have been fairly significant for them to move away from the baby blob area where previously on the Curse of Oak Island, the gold content in the water was the highest. And now new for this year, which they don't say the term golden egg in this one, but I think that's what they call this because it's referred to that in the synopsis for episode 2. So, but more on that later. They're doing multiple operations on the island at one time, of course, and now they're even doing multiple operations. They said yards away. DN7 is the borehole that they're doing right now, and this is the shaft 2 that they are re-excavating. At least they think it's shaft 2, and they're trying to get clarity on that. That I don't think I ever noticed before. If I did, I forgot it. They have A starting right here. So this is A1, A2, A3, and B1, 2, 3, and so forth. If they have this that started right there and goes down that way, but then up here, I think the N stands for north. And so then they have B. So I'm wondering if the A1 and B1, if that was, I don't remember, sorry, if they got this grid pattern from previous searchers, and so that all of these are already done like that. I thought Steve Guptill made this up himself, but they may have had him start right there and didn't realize they were going up further, because that, of course, is a later season thing when they started doing that. So all of the boreholes up here would be newer ones in more recent seasons. Next is lot 15. The pirate piles are there, and those are those stone rocks put in the shape of pyramids, and so they're excavating that. The archaeoastronomy on those locations matches the 1200s, just like the Nolan's Cross date. Rick is uncovering one, and he sees that you have the larger boulders on either side and then smaller ones in the middle, and they think that's to just make that pirate pile stable. And so it's just a way to keep it together more. Granted, the pirate piles have been disturbed in order to look under them and such for treasure over the years. But he also says this reminds him of the wall between lot 26 and 27. And do I have that on here? Nope. Do I have the neck? Is there? Next one, no, it's not, but it's the between lots 26 and 27. There is a stone wall that goes like right on the lot line, so that's interesting. And also, lot 26 is home of that silver well that also dates to the 1200s. It has the highest content of silver away from the money pit than anywhere else on the island. Granted, they haven't dug everywhere and tested everywhere yet. Gary finds the spoils for what they think is shaft 2, their previously discovered shaft 2. Gary finds this rose head spike, and that's in the 1800s, and that would, of course, fit the time period for shaft 2, which is the first searcher shaft. Shaft 1, of course, being the original money pit. This is the DN7. So again, borehole drilling program to try to figure out where they want to put caissons down, so get more information. And this is an area they haven't been in before. They hit some kind of air pocket right here. They think that's encouraging because that could mean like a cavern or something like that. But below that, it's virgin ground. And so undisturbed ground. This is Dr. Spooner on lot 15, the pirate piles. And they also found under those, they found a layer of slate. And so there is no layer of slate on the eastern drumlin, but there is slate in the western drumlin of the island. And of course, if you go along with Fred Nolan's theory, and others have had the theory as well, that it was once two islands, including Dr. Spooner, that says it was not a swamp originally, except for maybe the last 300 years or so. That slate would have had to come from elsewhere, and the closest place would be on the western island. When it was, let's take a look at. There we go. So basically it's split up like there, like right at the swamp is where like the line goes like right through the swamp. And it's this part of the island they call the eastern drumlin, and this part is the western drumlin, and they are two different kinds of soil, two different kinds of makeup of below ground. And so you have your slate on this side, and so all that would have had to been brought over to this side. Unlike your coconut fiber in the in Smith's Cove and elsewhere in the money pit, and that would have had to come from way down here somewhere. I'm not going to go all the way out. Yes, I am, just for effect. Let's go all the way out. Yeah, look how far that has to come from Caribbean. That has to come from that far. All right, let's go back. Because we do need Oak Island again. Where? Oh, it's right there with the big. There it is. Nice elephant shape, which makes it easier. But yeah, so, according to the data that Dr. Spooner collected, it was two islands. And they filled it in, creating the swamp to likely hide it, the same as they hid the structures on lot 5. 1, 2, I think 3, 4, 5, somewhere in here. There's lot 5. I can't believe they don't have it marked on here. It's very important. And that's that well, so let's see if we can see the rock wall. We cannot below the trees. Okay. Yeah, all right. Thank you for putting up with the meandering here and the distraction. I do get distracted. So he's holding pieces of slate and says that's where it would have had to come from. So they would have had to carry it. And if it was 1200s, that was quite an operation to do that. Especially if it wasn't a swamp there, they would have had to sail it across at least a little way. If the two islands were not connected yet via a man-made swamp at that time. And so they end up finding that there is another shaft right next to shaft 2. There it is right there. They're putting the spoils first right there and then right there as they continue to uncover it. And you can see the garden shaft is right there. Keep in mind this part right here, right next to the garden shaft, as we continue. So you got your shaft 2, at least what they think is shaft 2, and then they don't know about this one. It hasn't been recorded. Nobody ever said in history, in the historical record, shaft 2. They have documented that, and that was in the like 30, something like that. And that's the first searcher group other than the original guys that discovered the money pit. That was, I think, the Onslow Company, and Daniel McGinnis was a part of that. And basically, they dug shaft 2 because that, again, I can't recall exactly what direction, southeast maybe. So that would be this way. So that means that way somewhere around in here would be where the money pit is, because they dug it 14 feet away as a way to try to dig down to below the flood point, which was when they removed the 90-foot stone. So they dug down, they built a shaft to 110 feet or so, and then they were going to tunnel. They started tunneling towards the money pit, and they almost got to the money pit when the tunnel flooded. So they did not successful in avoiding the water, and everybody got out safely from shaft 2. But later they heard loud crashing under the ground, and they think that the money pit, the original shaft 1, and also shaft 2, they think both of them collapsed, like all the cribbing and stuff in there that they had just put in shaft 2. They think all of that collapsed, and so all of that's in a debris field underground. Fun times. Like, I obviously could talk about this stuff forever if I could remember it all, for sure. This cone E being lifted, you can tell whenever they put this shade on it, this filter on it, it's always something that happened in the past, even if it was only last season. And Rick was not here that day, if you can imagine that. Marty said he was going swimming and took off his sweater, I think, or jacket, and got down in there, and he found a conglomerate, again, which they're calling a concretion this year. And in the season premiere, Emma had tested all of these soil samples, the Cone E concretion, and feature 1, which is the round feature, that big feature now, in lot 5. Again, lot 5 from the possible cellar stairs mortar, and also from, I guess, the 93% there. She said 95% match, but I guess close enough. From 91 feet down in the money pit area, all those match within 93% of each other. Oh, that's the, okay, so I get it. So the concretion is what they based it on, and these things are in the 90s, and that one from the money pit, almost at 90 at 0.891 percent matches to this concretion. That proves a link between them. A lot of people think maybe people lived at the lot 5 location, that it was a building, and that's where they lived while they were building the original shaft, the money pit. When Marty found that out, Marty says, we're lifting that Cone E boulder again, and of course I'm lifting all of them. And I've asked for this before on my wish list, that I would pick up all of the, how it's a cross for Nolan's cross, but all around those are also points for the tree of life. And they checked at least 3 of those, and those have buried stones in there. They're not the big, huge cones, the big, huge boulders, but they do have buried stones in those locations. And so, Gibbs Rule 39, there's no such thing as a coincidence. So I'm doing all of those. When they originally did those, they did not have Nolan cooperation. And so they never did. So I don't know, once they got Nolan cooperation, first with Fred, and then now his son Tom is part of the team, and I don't know if they ever did that. Now, it's possible they did do it because there's a lot of stuff on the show that we don't see. Still digging shaft 2. This is shaft 2 right here, maybe, and it's filled in. And this is the shaft that's right next to it. This is pretty much north and south, but they may have it uncovered now. So it's either right there or inside that white building. All right, and so, or borehole 10X, excuse me, borehole 10X. And this is the new one that they found. So that one might not be shaft 2. This might be shaft 2. And they got wood out of the previous one and this part as well. And so they're going to try to determine by the age of the wood whether it's searcher or not. It's kind of a jig-jaggy. I don't know what you call that. Like at an angle here that they are digging for some reason. I guess that's the way it seemed like the shaft was going. Something like that. But get it, they're encroaching on this part right here that I pointed out earlier, right next to the garden shaft. Oh, garden shaft, by the way, apparently not happening. Alex said it was still, and this would be all the way up until halfway through the shooting schedule, that it was still full of water. And so they may be done with that. Hopefully not forever, or maybe they can discover another shaft that also is pretty stable and that they can go down and completely excavate it and get to the bottom of it and stand on the bottom of it and then tunnel then to somewhere else they want to go to, rather than just going from the top all the time. Because if you go from the top all the time, you're not necessarily gonna hit exactly what you want to hit. If you tunnel to it, you probably have a much better chance of doing that and also leaving everything intact. Of course, that was what they were trying to do in the money pit when they did probe drilling, and that's when all the water came in. So you do have to be aware at any time of the danger of water, because that could derail your efforts, just like it has every single searcher group in the history of time, at least on Oak Island. And they find a wall there on the side, some nice wood. And again, they got wood from both what they previously on the Curse of Oak Island, what they thought was in season 7 is when they found what they thought was shaft 2. And so they got some more wood with that. From that, they got it from the top, near the top, and they dug quite a ways and got wood from lower, which I think in both shafts it was a lot darker and a lot older seeming. And so what they were saying that might have happened in one or both of them, that the stuff up at the top was refurbished at some point by either depositors or searchers. And I mean, that is one of the theories, that Oak Island has been used for treasure for a long time, multiple generations. And so that is possible, and that would, I think, be the only explanation. Granted, you can reuse wood, but if they have wood from pre-discovery of the money pit, and then wood in searcher times, meaning 1800 plus, then that would point to that, like it being refurbished at the top because it's not stable up there anymore, or it's just the wood's gotten old or something like that. Who knows, for whatever are damaged in some way, they would have to refurbish it in order to get back down there. They measure it, this wall that is inside there, the new shaft, which they're calling 2A, and the look of it, the design of it, and the measurements are almost exactly the same as the stuff in the garden shaft. And the garden shaft, undoubtedly a searcher shaft. The tunnel below the garden shaft, though, might not be. More encroachment, and it looks like they have both sides cleared out, and that's just one wall in the middle, it looks like. It gets blurry, though. This is actually west of the garden shaft, and they've flattened that area out so they can do the borehole testing to see if there's high content of gold in the water there as well, to determine where to put down those caissons. All right, back to the cut coin. I don't think I said it before. This was found in the spoils from Lot 5's round feature. Feature number 1. And those spoils were moved to Lot 4 to get them out of the way, and they were not checked until this particular season's filming. Gary metal detected that. Top pocket fine for sure. And Emma does the work on it. And of course, I don't know what the blue is. Let's see if it says blue is CI or CL. And the green is silver. So, and silver is treasure. This is the conglomerate that they found last year. Do not see the hair on it. Maybe it's on the bottom. Or maybe it just doesn't take up because it is very small and it has multiple in there, they said. Or maybe they ripped them out of there so they could do said DNA / carbon testing. And I hope they do that. And as foretold, they do lift Coney again. And it is not a puddle underneath it this time. And they do indeed find another conglomerate. As you can see, it looks like it's got like just like a rock, like crazy glued onto it this time. Not like really embedded in it, but like still stuck to it. But this is more oblong. And so they can test that again and make sure that's the same amount of match to the previous concretion and Lot 5 and the money pit. So that's fun when you can connect all these things together. Because then it's not just like random people doing different things. That means it's all a concerted effort. Dr. Spooner also gets some organic material to carbon date as well. Just in case you can't carbon date those little hairs. And also you want to get as much information as you can to corroborate. Back in the money pit area, and this looks really dangerous to me. It looks like this was the wall, and they may not have excavated that at all. That's really, really cleaned off nicely if they never dug down into that. Maybe they filled it back up and patted it down, but that's nice right there. And so I don't know if this is a collapse or what happened here. The concrete looks like the old excavator took a chunk out of that there. It may not have been perfectly, I think it was though. I think it was perfectly rectangular. They're calling this shaft 2A till they figure out differently. So who knows? This could be shaft 2 and the other one could be previously undocumented. Or vice versa. In this shaft 2A, they remark how packed it is, how tightly packed it is, and how tamped down everything is. And of course, you would do that if you're trying to hide it, if you're trying to make it look like it's not a shaft there. And that's also what they did with the round feature. The features on Lot 5 purposely buried. And it's seemingly in a hurry as well, especially because all the artifacts that they pulled out of there. Looks like that was done in an extreme hurry. So back in the lab, the cut coin, and that lets you see your detail on there, and as well as the other one. Emma does find what it goes to, and that would be this, and I believe this is William III of the England. And so this is a British silver shilling. And again, I forget the year, but it was before the money pit was discovered. And they previously found, that's on the next slide, I think. Yeah, they previously found these artifacts are composite matches for artifacts found at William Phipps's birthplace. And that would be, of course, late 1600s, early 1700s, something like that. For both of those. And to continue to go down into that shaft 2A, you can see the wood right there looking older. And I guess that's it. And so to look ahead, the synopsis for the next episode called Whistle While You Work, and there's always a fun pun. Is it Tuesday yet, everybody? The team is thrilled yet concerned when the investigation of the golden egg, that's where I got that from, and they capitalized it. You might want to put a trademark on it too. and sell merch. An area that scientific evidence suggests the legendary riches are hidden, so that's probably water test, more gold content in those. And if those numbers are higher than anywhere else, well, then of course that you want to put a case on down there. Of course, immediately shows signs that they've come upon an underground void, but it may be collapsing. Of course, there's always a problem. Always a problem. The look ahead, that continues the look ahead. First with the synopsis there. And so in this, they are drilling another borehole, not the DN7 borehole. I'm assuming another one. And this would be closer up here to the west of the garden shaft. And also there is this looks, I wonder if that's where another caisson has been delineated to be going, or if that's somebody just drew the golden egg there as far as a reference to show somebody, maybe. I don't know. But, again, Gibbs Rule 39, no such thing as a coincidence. So they get going on that. And there's not that much in this preview, unfortunately. But I've talked long enough, so that's probably good. And that, I'm assuming, is the same area that they are looking at right here. Rick talks about there being no documented work done, no documented digging done in this entire area up here. And again, we're looking at the golden egg here. That's Marty pointing at it. And these here, I don't know if this is this particular group, some boreholes that they've dug, and maybe just this year, maybe these are new just this year. A lot of these are where they would start a drilling operation, for example, right here. And then by the time it gets down X number of feet, it has gone at an angle, moves it away. It doesn't always go straight down. Again, this is why it's better to do tunneling to something. Thank you so much for watching. There'll be a link for the preview and for the Oak Island playlist at the very end. I'm doing the no cap recaps of season 12 late nights Tuesday as the episode airs, so please check those out. My one for season 1 exploded this year, 13,000 views since Tuesday. It's Sunday, and so that's amazing. So thanks to everybody that has watched that, certainly. Alrighty. As always, subscribe, like, and comment, and of course, sempre avanti.